Located in the Anacostia area of Washington, D.C., is a landmark known as the Big Chair. It's an example of the combination of architecture and advertising. In 1926, the Curtis Brothers Furniture Store first opened in the Anacostia neighborhood, and it was an immediate success. Over 30 years later, the family-owned furniture store decided to make an addition. The Big Chair was originally constructed as something that would be so eye-catching that it would draw crowds to the Curtis Brothers Furniture Store. One of the store's suppliers, Bassett Furniture Industries in North Carolina, built the chair and transported it to D.C. on a flatbed truck while being careful to avoid underpasses because the Big Chair couldn't fit beneath them. At the time, the nearly 20-foot-tall Big Chair was advertised as the biggest chair in the world, although there are now other giant chairs in other parts of the world that are taller than the Big Chair. It was made from mahogany to resemble a Duncan Phyfe dining room chair. When the Big Chair was built in 1959, the Curtis Brothers sponsored Big Chair Day, a special event that included an appearance by Maureen Reagan, the daughter of actor Jane Wyman, and another actor who would also become President of the United States decades later, Ronald Reagan. Maureen Reagan was crowned Queen of the world's largest chair, and she got to ride in a car that had a banner that said, "Miss World's Largest Chair, Curtis Brothers." 1 year after the Big Chair went up and Maureen Reagan received her crown, Charles Curtis, the former president of Curtis Brothers, told the Washington Post in 2005 that he came up with another attention-getting idea. Someone would actually live on the Big Chair. A glass company was hired to construct a 10 by 10 foot glass cubicle that was furnished with a bed, shower, toilet, heater, air conditioner, and balcony on top of the seat. All they needed was a tenant. They found a suitable candidate when a 19-year-old woman named Rebecca Kirby was shopping for furniture at the Curtis Brothers Furniture Store. They were further intrigued with her when they learned that she had been modeling professionally under the name Lynn Arnold, and she was also recently crowned the Washington Junior Chamber of Commerce's Miss Get Out the Vote 1960. In a rare 2005 interview with the Washington Post, Rebecca Kirby said that she was approached by the store manager asking her if she wanted to earn money living on top of the chair. She initially thought that the manager was nuts. Her husband also objected to her taking the job. Despite her misgivings and her husband's objection, she agreed to take the job because she needed the money for an operation to remove ovarian cysts. She also agreed to the job when she was told that they wanted an attractive woman who was wholesome like Cinderella and not sexy like Marilyn Monroe. Kirby said, "I figure I could pull this off without being branded a slut." On August 13, 1960, after the Curtis brothers sent her on a $300 shopping spree for clothes, she was raised to her new home by forklift. Her meals and clothes were delivered every day via a dumbwaiter. She spent her time watching TV, reading books, and talking on the telephone. She would periodically step onto the balcony to wave to the crowds who were there to see the spectacle. Starting on the first day, Curtis Brothers ran a series of ads in the local newspapers dubbing her Alice in the Looking Glass House, after the title of the classic sequel to Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland. During her time living in the Big Chair, Kirby's only regular visitor was her 14-month-old son, Richard, who was placed in a dumbwaiter and hoisted up to the apartment to visit his mother. After 6 weeks, Kirby grew tired of her life in the Big Chair, and she decided to quit that job. But not before Curtis Brothers ran a series of countdown ads urging the general public to visit Alice in the Looking Glass House before she was due to leave her home. When she finally left her Big Chair home, she had to take a cab to her own home because her husband refused to pick her up. She'd earned $1,500 for her time as a Big Chair's resident. She was able to afford to pay for her operation. She also divorced her husband and moved out of the D.C. area. Her 6-week stint living in the big chair created a DC legend that endures to this day. While no one else ever lived in the big chair, there was a time when it would be decorated with a giant Santa Claus and lights at Christmas. The big chair managed to survive the 1968 riots that happened after the murder of Martin Luther King. When the Curtis Brothers furniture store closed in the mid-1970s, the big chair remained. For years, locals used it as a landmark where it was common for them to tell people who lived outside of Anacostia things like, "Meet me at the big chair," or "Take the first right after you pass the big chair." However, the big chair began to show the adverse effect of being exposed to the elements when the wood began to rot so badly that there were fears that it would collapse. In 2005, the big chair was dismantled. The following year, a replica of the big chair was put up in its original location. This new chair is made out of aluminum, which makes it more durable than wood. The big chair is located at the intersection of Martin Luther King Avenue and V Street Southeast in the Anacostia neighborhood. It's an outdoor installation, so you can visit it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.